Hi everyone, what's up and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 1931 classic Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein dares to tamper with life and death by creating a human monster out of lifeless body parts. I can't believe it took me this long to watch this movie. I honestly haven't seen any of the Universal monster movies, so I definitely want to do that. Even if I don't get through more of them in 31 Nights of Horror, I think that's potentially a series on my channel that I'm interested in doing because wow, did I really enjoy this movie. I've been watching a lot of older movies lately and I'm going to be honest, but a few years back I wasn't really interested in seeing movies honestly before the 50s just because I thought that they would be dated and they would be boring, and I mean that's not to say that some of them are like that, but then there are movies like Frankenstein that in my opinion have aged tremendously in the best way possible. This movie looks like it could have been made today with the style that it has, and just the way that the directing works is probably my favorite part about this entire movie. I think James Whale did really a great job in crafting this atmosphere with the directing style. Like, there are so many tracking shots. I love the low angles. It's all done in such a nice way. I love the framing of the shots and the angles that are shown in this movie. I love the way it's directed because it's not just still shots in one specific way. There's a lot of movement throughout, and it's really interesting seeing that from the 30s. This movie is almost 100 years old, and the style that it has is so modern, which I really enjoyed. I also really like the acting. I think it was a little bit over the top, but I feel like that was something that just happened back in the day. Like, it fits that type of style. Today I would consider it over the top, but I was still really intrigued by it, and it didn't really take too much away from me. And I really like Colin Clive as Henry Frankenstein, Boris Karloff as the monster, and then we have Mayor May Clarke as Elizabeth, John Boles as Victor Moritz. Everybody in this movie did pretty good. I feel like there were maybe a couple background actors that didn't do as good as the lead people, but still, I still think everybody did a really great job, and honestly the entire time I was engaged. And I also want to talk about how I think the pacing of this movie is actually pretty great. I was never bored, and to be fair, this movie is really short. Like, it's under an hour and 20 minutes. It feels very fast, and I really enjoyed that because it ended and I was like, oh my god, it ended. Which I will say, my one complaint with the movie, I feel like the ending is a little bit abrupt. I don't know if it continues in The Bride of Frankenstein and the stories connect with the ending and all of that. I do want to check The Bride of Frankenstein. Loki, I am filming. He's literally going crazy. It's alive! It's alive! Sorry about that, my dog Loki. He was just going crazy. Anyway, but as I was saying, I also really liked the production design of this movie. I think it's also one of my favorite parts. I love the gothic style that there has, and there's a lot of really cool cobwebs and spiders and just, you know, horrifying elements throughout. And I just really like how dark this movie looks. Like, obviously it's black and white, so, you know, we get that obviously, but I still think with the framing of the shots we got a lot of really cool like sequences and scenes, and it's just, again, with the framing and the production design, like I just think all the technical aspects worked really great with each other. And the story, I really like how the story was structured because the first act of this movie is the creation of the monster, which I think is probably my favorite act in the movie, and then by the third act we have, you know, the consequences, what this monster is doing in the real world. And I just think it was really interesting. I've always personally been a fan of the Frankenstein story, so, you know, watching this I was like already excited to check it out. But I just really like how simple the movie feels because it's a topic that I just think, you know, you really could explore it as much as possible, but I think the simplicity that was done here in the screenplay, it really just helped because as an audience member I got to do more of the thinking instead of the movie thinking for me, if that makes sense, which I really enjoyed. I personally think the character of Victor Frankenstein is super interesting, you know, that idea that it's science going too far, and I just think it's a super interesting story to have this scientist who has studied, who has learned a lot of stuff, you know, take it too far and be able to examine like the possibilities with science and how it can affect other people. And I think that's tackled really well here, and also with just some dialogue. I'm obviously paraphrasing, but talking about the Victor Frankenstein has a line where he's like, now I know what it's like to be God, and we have like all of these questions come up, like, you know, what does it mean to bring somebody back to life, and how does that play in with the universe and just the philosophy. I just think the philosophy of Frankenstein is super interesting, and I've always just loved exploring that in movies, and obviously Frankenstein was one of the first, and I just really just enjoyed all of that with this movie. Also, Frankenstein, he just looked really cool in this movie. I thought the practical effects were really great. I didn't think any of them were cheesy or anything. Like, I legitimately was like I legitimately believed that everything that was on screen was actually happening, which is always a good thing, and that's awesome. Like, I give this movie extra points for that because this literally came out in the 30s, and I will say that I never really felt suspense with this movie, but still, I'm saying this like from somebody watching this now who's pretty numb to a lot of horror things, but somebody seeing this back in the 30s, I could so see why this could be terrifying. Like, the concept itself is pretty scary, but but also, again, repeating what I keep saying, but the technical aspects of the movie just work really well to try to terrify an audience. And with all of that being said, I'm going to give Frankenstein an A. I loved this movie so much. Like, I genuinely didn't think I was gonna like it as much as I did, and I'm so happy that I finally watched it. And I'm also happy that I didn't watch it back in the day when I was like, oh, I don't want to watch older movies because they'll be boring, blah blah blah. No, older movies are not boring, and they're a lot of fun, and there's a lot of really cool, interesting things that you can learn from it, and it's just cool and interesting seeing horror movies from the 30s and see how much horror has evolved as a genre. So I'm just really happy that I got to check this one out, and I hope you guys enjoyed my review. Before I end this video, make sure to let me know down below what you guys think of Frankenstein. Do you like this movie? Do you not like it? And let me know what's your favorite Frankenstein movies, because there's a lot of remakes, there's a lot of versions, there's a lot of Frankenstein in the air, and I actually haven't really seen too much Frankenstein anything, honestly, so I'd be interested in knowing what your favorite Frankenstein anything is. That'll be it for me today, everybody. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and remember, stay spooky, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for a brand new video. Bye, everyone!